Do you have to win a ring to be considered a GOAT? A GOAT means in your particular sport, okay? So let's macro this and make this a good discussion, because I don't know how many legendary athletes have achieved greatness in their respective sport, I guess, to never win a championship. But I know Dan Marino and Charles Barkley and Barry Bonds and stick out, okay? So I want to dive in to it. Let's start with football, and we'll break it down. We'll just go down the list so we can say, okay, compare and contrast. Dan Marino, unbelievable ball spinner, of course, one of the greatest arms ever, quickest release, blah, blah, blah. Never got to win it. Barry Sanders, Randy Moss, Jim Kelly, 4-time Super Bowl attendee. We'll have a Darryl Talley on later on today who played in those Super Bowls with Jim Kelly. Those are just to start with, just to name a few. Is Dan Marino better than Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Troy Aikman, Steve Young? I can go down the list for guys who won a title. I'm going to say no. As much as I love Dan Marino, he is not the standout, alone, stick out, sore thumb, best ever. And then he didn't win it on top of that. So I'm going to say nah. So for right now, if I was breaking down QBs, he's not the GOAT, and he didn't win. So you know what I'm saying? So you see kind of where I'm going with this. So do you have to win a ring to be considered a GOAT?
Yes. Nah, you do. And I understand the argument. It is a complex discussion when you really break it down. And I'm glad you used Dan Marino, because if we're just talking pure skill, then you could very much argue that he is the greatest. From a skill standpoint, you could argue that, right? But it's at the end of the day, when it comes to sports, it's bigger than just skill. We all played and coached at different levels, and we all either had teammates or you coached players who looked like Tarzan, but played like Jane. It was always a phrase that I would hear in the football space, where guy might be 6'3", 6'4", lean, cut up, runs a 4.4, DN, whatever the case may be, but go out there and didn't perform. Or in your example, they actually did perform, but for whatever reason, once they get to the biggest stage, it just didn't go their way. And sometimes it's not even their fault. A guy like Charles Barkley, who we know how great he was, it's just his teams, I think, just wasn't good enough to get over the hump. Reggie Miller, a guy who, just teams wouldn't go to get over the hump. And very sad, the list goes on and on of so many guys. But I just think a part of you being, if I'm going to call you the greatest, if you're in that conversation, there's no way in hell you can be considered the greatest and you've never won. Now, I'm not saying you necessarily have to win the most. We don't look at Bill Russell as the greatest basketball player ever. You know what I'm saying? We say Jordan, or you might throw out Kobe or Bron or Magic, but you at least got to show that you're capable of winning a championship, because I just don't – two things can't be true. You can't be the greatest at something and never reach the highest heights. I don't think that's even possible, at least once. Just one time at least. You know what I'm saying? And I think that can change the conversation, Now, to flip real quick before you jump in, I'm sorry. To flip it, though, I also don't think, like I said, I don't think I don't think winning the most means that you are the best, though. I know we had this conversation where.
Yeah, but break it down, though. That's why I was comparing and contrasting. Who's better than Jordan?
Well,
who hasn't won a title better than Jordan? Charles Barkley?
He ain't better.
Karl Malone?
He ain't better.
John Stockton?
He ain't better.
Patrick Ewing?
He ain't better.
Allen Iverson?
He ain't better.
Chris Paul?
He ain't better.
Reggie Miller?
He ain't better.
Steve Nash?
He ain't better.
Tracy McGrady?
He ain't better.
Dominique Wilkins?
He ain't better.
See what I'm saying? That's how you have to do this.
But in your head, though, and I know you did this on purpose, you think Kobe's better than Jordan. You've said that multiple times.
And he's won titles. And he's won 5 titles.
So, okay, so you agree with me that you don't necessarily have to have the most titles per se.
No, let's take the conversation. You have to win a ring.
Got you. I'll make sure we're on the same page.
Here's the thing. Dan Marino, we can argue how talented he is.
Super
talented. I got him and John Elway going like this down the road.
Right.
John Elway goes and gets 2 rings.
Right.
Elway was more athletic. Elway had probably a stronger arm. Elway could run and move around faster. And Elway...
Better team.
Elway exceeded Dan Marino in every which way. In my opinion, if I look at quarterback skill set and I'm looking at it, it's very comparable the whole way down the road. And then guy took, boom, wins 2 rings. And guess what he won them with? His arm and his legs. Dan Marino was a sitting duck for the majority of his career. So if I'm going to look at that and say, all right, John Elway is probably one of the greatest athletes to play the position, underrated as hell at the position, along with Troy Aikman, another great athlete, ran wishbone in college. No one wants to talk about. You don't know how that goes until, guess what? That guy takes the lead and he wins 2 Super Bowls. So, like, right now, he would have superseded Dan Marino in that conversation. And then Montana never throwing an interception, never losing a Super Bowl. You got that conversation who you can actually compare versus Tom Brady and have that true GOAT conversation.
I mean, for the longest, we all just said Montana was the GOAT until Brady did what he did. Like that
you can still argue it because the same argument is being handled with LeBron and Jordan by a lot of young people.
Right. Yep.
And they're saying, well,
you get the numbers.
Jordan never lost. Jordan never lost. Jordan won more than LeBron lost, and all this other shit. They're comparing and contrasting all these different things. So, like, if I went down the list, like, no one superseded Jordan or Kobe, in my opinion, because they both won multiple rings, not only one, but multiple. And you can argue. Now you have an argument between Jordan and Kobe, at least, is my point.
Right.
If you didn't win, in my opinion, there's been some great ones. Now, the anomaly or the unicorn is the argument of Barry Bonds.
Right. He's the one that makes it very complicated. Yes.
Barry Bonds never won it. He never won it. And I know LeBron James on a recent show with Steve Nash brought this up. Take a listen.
I don't know why it's discussed so much in our sport and why it's the A-all, B-all of everything. You sit here and you tell me, you know, Allen Iverson and Charles Barkley and Steve Nash.
But they're not. Those guys he mentioned aren't better than the guy you're even that's talking.
Well, is he? Let it keep playing. Is he saying like go conversation or just great?
I don't know.
You know, our fucking wasn't unbelievable. Like, oh, they can't be talked about or discussed with these guys is because this guy won 1 ring or won 2 rings or won like. It's just weird to me. It's like saying Peyton Manning can't be in the same room with Brady or Mahomes because he only has 1 ring. They don't never discuss that in their sport.
Right.
Or telling me that Dan Marino is not the greatest slinger of all time, or he can't be in the room with those guys because he didn't win a championship. They don't discuss those things.
Being in the room with those guys doesn't say the GOAT.
It is a good conversation. I feel what he's saying though. Like I really like.
But you can be in the room, Eddie. You could be in the room. That doesn't mean you're in the GOAT room. There's different rooms. Like when you could be in a room, and then guess what? Then the door, there's 2 more doors that open, and then that's where the GOATs hang out. Like that's what I don't think. Like you could discuss and bring up AI and Peyton and all these guys, but that doesn't mean there's levels to it, in my opinion. Just like the Hall of Fame shouldn't let just anybody in. But let's hear the rest.
You know, I don't know. I don't know. Did Barry Bonds win a World Series? I don't think so. I don't think so. Barry Bonds never won a World Series, and you can't sit here and tell.
That's a hell of a point, bro. At least with Barry. Because Barry, every time we have an MLB player, other than one guy who just does not, he's super anti, I can't remember his name, but he was super anti-steroids. Everybody else we've had come on here, they're like, man, Barry, boy, I ain't never seen nothing like Barry. Like, sometimes your greatness is so great that it's like, it might trump a ring, honestly.
Yeah, I just don't know, like, we can go down the baseball list, too, and say, okay, because the Barry is going to be up in the top echelon of all-time players at whatever you bring up. But then there's going to be guys that are comparable who won, though. And are you gonna in your mind say, well, Barry never won it, and they're comparable, so am I going to put Barry over the guys that won it? That's the discussion. I don't know. Like, Barry Sanders never won it.
glad you brought him up though. If to me, certain positions matter too, though. And I don't know if you like agree with me. To me, a running back, you only got so much damn control, man, over a football team. Like if you a great running back, but I'm under a shitty O-line my whole career, or I don't have a good quarterback. It's like, bro, there's only so much I can do my whole career. Adrian Peterson was fucking amazing. I watched his whole career. He was phenomenal. He tore his ACL, came back and played better, but he didn't win the championship. So what does that mean? So like there's nothing more he could have done. You know what I'm saying? So like I just think with certain positions it's tough. Now when you bring up Barry, are we saying like when you say GOAT and you brought up Barry Sanders, are we saying like greatest running back conversation or just like greatest football player? Because Barry's definitely in the greatest running back conversation, regardless of a ring or not. We can all say that.
Yeah, because most of the running backs on the list that never won a Super Bowl are in my GOAT conversation for running back.
Running back. So positions matter a little bit.
But you're never going to call a running back the greatest football player ever.
Right. Okay.
See, that's the problem. Like basketball is 5 guys.
It's different. Yeah.
Football is positional.
Yeah.
Baseball, you can argue, is positional, but
yeah, exactly.
You can still say baseball, though. You're still going to say Ohtani and Babe Ruth and Barry Bonds. You're going to have a player, though, in baseball.
Yeah, but it is tough. I'm glad you brought that point up, too, because it's tough. Because with football, right, we call Tom Brady just the GOAT, but, like, being real, like, I don't know if you can just say he's the greatest football player ever. I don't feel comfortable saying that. I can say the greatest quarterback ever, but, like, I'm not going to forget about Lawrence Taylor and Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. And, like, it's so many different positions. It's hard to just say that this one guy who played quarterback is just the greatest player ever. I don't know if that's true. And
I don't know, man. I still like at the end of the day, before I die, I'm gonna give away my GOATs. I don't know if Brady's trumps Montana at this point for me yet. I know they're right there because of the rings, but I also saw him lose games that I was like, I don't know if Montana loses those. He never threw a pick in a Super Bowl. He never lost a Super Bowl. Like that has to hold some sort of weight, especially.
But he only got photo.
I get it, but I'm saying
so you can't say Montana wouldn't have lost in those moments. Well, he didn't even have those moments.
Yeah,
losing.
That he did, but what happened was you played in the AFC East your whole life, 20 years. Arguably, you can sit down and break it down as the worst division in the history of modern day football, post leather helmets. Montana played in the fucking NFC West at the time when fucking the NFC period was just ridiculously loaded with the Bears and the fucking Cowboys and the fucking Eagles all in the height. To be honest, if you look down and after those 20 years after dominating the AFC East, then they got into the AFC, and you can argue that when they did play at Pittsburgh, he lost. When he did play Indianapolis and Peyton finally, he lost. He didn't even get through the AFC on
finally though. Like I'm as a Colts fan, we always lost against them. Like we beat them in 06, it was like finally, oh my God, we finally got them. Like
that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying though, Montana. Then you could flip it and say Montana never had that issue. See what I'm saying? Montana won those games early on, so he only got 4, but only 4 in that era. I think it holds more weight than only 4.
I hate saying only 4. 4 is amazing. I'm just saying when you're talking about Brady, you have to say only 4 because motherfucker got 7. Some shit we ain't never seen before. So it just makes it like, you know.
Here's my point. If I weigh it down, he went to fucking 10.
And won 7. That's what I'm saying.
Great. But think about it. Going to 10 would have never happened in the fucking era when we, you know.
Hold on, no. See, now we get in the wrong waters, though. Don't say Tom Brady for a lot. Like, I understand you don't like today's era and all that stuff. Tom Brady played in a great era, bro. Like, we can't say that now.
Early on, like that. Don't act like his whole 20 years was in that era.
I mean, the only ring that you could even consider was like, I guess this era. I guess it was his Bucks ring. I guess. I mean.
Not really, because you had the whole Tuck gate, homie. Like that, we could argue he didn't even win the game.
Well, like there's a conversation. I'm talking about.
I'm just saying though. There's
we're talking about era play. We're talking about competition play. Like he played in a really good era. Like
here's the breakdown. Barry Sanders. You could argue about running back. Eric Dickerson, who's my GOAT.
Come on now.
Didn't win. Adrian Peterson, you can put in there if you want. LaDainian Tomlinson, you can throw in there. I mean, I'm just thinking Earl Campbell didn't win one. I don't believe O.J. Simpson didn't win one.
Woo!
Thurman Thomas, who will have his teammate on today. Frank Gore. I mean,
he's not great as running back. He got the numbers, but like
he sure got numbers. He sure got longevity and numbers.
Yeah, but
Gail Sayers only played 6 years. And people argue he's one of the best. Curtis Martin, who very underrated in my opinion, 14,000-yard rusher. So, like, I don't know. There's a lot of guys that you can argue, but those guys didn't win a Super Bowl.
But like your earlier point, though, we'll never say any of them are the greatest football player, but we will say they're the greatest maybe running back, though. So that's why I'm saying it's kind of different football.
And you got guys now that does Derrick Henry win one?
Right.
You get put in the conversation. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, if Derrick get a ring and you already see his numbers,
so at the end of the year,
yeah.
But Marshall Faulk won one.
Yeah, he got one.
So if at the end of the day, the careers end today,
right?
And now we fast forward 20 years, and two people are having this conversation, and you bring up the top 10 running backs of that era. Are you putting Derrick Henry over Saquon Barkley? One has a ring. See what I'm saying? So now you're like,
you should, but like technically speaking, like if you just sit back,
I'm just saying,
right now today, he should be ahead of Saquon in my opinion, though. Right now today,
but I'm saying the season,
you know what I'm saying?
Their careers ended today.
Yeah,
10 years. We fast forward 20 years, and two people are having this debate. Are you putting Saquon over Derrick because he won one? I bet you they are. That's what I'm. That's my point. That's all I'm saying.
They are because of the ring. They are, yes.
So,
but we're watching this shit live, and Saquon hasn't done enough yet because of the injuries every other year. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a crazy. Like I'm saying, football is just different. Basketball is a little bit more because with basketball, it's 5 people on the court. One player has so much control over wins and losses, right? You know what I mean? Football is like, man, I can run 200 yards a game and still lose.
You can argue two things for Saquon versus Derrick Henry. They both were on the verge of breaking the all-time rushing record.
Mm-hmm.
Saquon got closer.
Derrick did it a couple times.
Saquon got closer, though, and won one. So as I'm saying, like, there's a debate.
Yeah, but so, if you look at the year-to-year consistent greatness, I don't know.
Well, one's played a lot longer. And the other one, they both have played for two teams. So, like, there's a hell of a debate in 10 years from now about those two. Now, one is more dynamic to me than the other. One's a pass-catching back that's more of a hybrid style, multifaceted back. The other one is more of a downhill, reminds me more of an Eric Dickerson, Eddie George, downhill, get vertical.
Now, I'm not saying Saquon won't end up being better when his career is done. I'm just saying, like, if they literally stop playing right now, and I just look at everything, me personally, I can't put Saquon in front of Derrick right now today.
But here's the debate. Like, this is the argument. Like, if we just brought up two players and then a million people would have a half would be split, and probably more would be on this on the side of what I want to bring up. If you just brought up two names, Dan Marino, Troy Aikman, and argued it, I'm on the side of Troy Aikman because he won.
I am too.
You see what I'm saying? He won 3, and I knew as a quarterback guy the true value of what he was and how athletic he was and how gifted Troy Aikman was and blah, blah, blah. Was he as stylish and pretty? Because Dan Marino was fucking out there.
Dan was a bad man. But here's the argument, though, and I know you hate this, but they would say, well, if Dan Marino was on the Cowboys team, he don't get 3. He probably fucking do. We keeping it real.
And then I switch it and say, if Troy Aikman had that whiteout core in Miami, he gets 5. So, like, see what I'm saying? There's a bunch of shit I could change. Shit. Listen. Yeah,
if you do believe that, then Dan Marino should. Let's not talk about Dan Marino then. If you really believe that, that means they're night and day then.
You had Michael Irvin, homie, but listen, Alvin Harper was good, but he ain't that tandem.
But we're not talking about the playmaker right now. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboy team at that time. We're talking about the offensive line best in the league, one of the best ever. We're talking about Emmitt Smith, the leading rusher. We're talking about that deep. We're talking about the team. Dan Marino was putting up crazy numbers, Especially in the era when they weren't even throwing the ball like they do now. He probably throws 7,000 yards a season in today's game. So he was getting numbers with receivers.
All of them will. And Miami was throwing the ball more than anybody at that time. So they were actually first team in getting the 4 wide, 10 personnel spread, and they were throwing that shit all over the park.
I'm saying he was getting his number. They just weren't winning, you know?
Yeah.
He did get to a big game, though, one time. You know, just didn't finish, you know?
But he was
it's just a tough conversation. So like Aaron Rodgers, Aaron got one, right? So Aaron just automatically better than Dan Marino then because he got one. You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn.
But that's the deep conversation, though. Like, again, that's why I compared. If you want to put Dan Marino versus all the quarterbacks we listed at 1-1, are you putting them ahead of anybody? You said no to start the show off.
I'm with you. I know. So
if I put Aaron Rodgers against those same people, guess what? Aaron Rodgers has all the comparable skill set and all the other guys. That I just put Elway above Dan because I thought he was more athletic, same arm, same talent. Boom, boom, win 2. So Aaron Rodgers now, in my opinion,
athletic.
We could argue. We could argue he's more athletic. He is more athletic than Dan Marino.
Yep.
Probably a bigger
arm. Yep.
And he got
a ring,
and he has one. So you can argue it all day. Like that's the whole thing about it. Like, listen, I love Dan Marino. I like Dan Marino more than a lot of quarterbacks. But if we're really going to have this conversation, I think the ring matters. Along with the other shit I said on this show many years for now. I've also said, skill set, arm talent, ball spinning. I've said you have to have it all.
Thank you. Okay.
But I think you have to win. Like Matthew Stafford right now for me is ahead of Aaron Rodgers. And that's because of what
I don't have that because now I'm thinking about MVPs now and shit.
Yeah. But that's also where he was for his whole career.
Cool, but they both got one ring, so cool. That cancels out. Skill set, they're very similar in my opinion, but Aaron got 4 MVPs. So now you have to start going through all this shit now.
That's going against your argument though about where they played. That's your Troy Aikman argument versus Dan Marino then.
But MVPs though,
MVPs matter when you're playing Detroit, homie, with no talent. What do you mean?
Yeah, to me the argument flip. Your numbers might be even crazier if you play for the fucking Lions.
Because you're down by 50? No.
We shouldn't be down by 50 if you're a quarterback. And that's a different. That's why I like Stafford a lot. But to me, if you're that great, you shouldn't be losing that much. You shouldn't be down that much.
Come on,
quarterback.
You just said
quarterback. At quarterback, you should be down 50. You shouldn't be missing the playoffs every single year.
Wait, but a running back needs an O-line, but a quarterback don't.
Of course, but you and I both know quarterback has. You touch the ball every single play. It's a different level of responsibility and power. What are we talking about?
I can get the ball and get fucking blasted in fucking
we
one
saw Joe Burrow take a Bengals team to the Super Bowl with 0 O-line, homie, because you get the ball out quick. You always tell me, who's the best O-line on the team?
0 O-line.
Who's the best O-line on the team? The quarterback. So get the fucking ball.
I said quarterbacks make the O-line. O-line don't make the quarterback.
Okay, then, so don't flip that now. Don't flip
Hold on, though. So Stafford leaves immediately from a shit organization and wins a Super Bowl year 1? And we're not going to hold them any weight? We're not going to carry no weight with that?
It was a team that's already been to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff, homie. So then they added Jalen. Hold on. Then they added Jalen Ramsey, added an OBJ who was still balling at that time. Added a Von Miller. What are we talking about?
Don't add all that. Don't talk about all that shit.
Let's
talk about brass tacks. Aaron Rodgers was in a team in Green Bay who went to an NFC title game every fucking year and couldn't beat the 49ers, homie.
Because of him.
Goes 1 year and wins it all. So my point is, you're making my point. Aaron Rodgers had multiple opportunities with loaded teams every year in Green Bay.
Wasn't always loaded, homie.
Come on, homie.
Aaron begged for receiver help every single year, and as soon as he leaves, they load up on receivers, homie. You know that's the truth.
Don't matter. You're making all these other scenarios. We're talking about 2 guys. If we were really having a debate about 2 guys, one guy leaves a horrible organization, and we can argue the worst ever because you on the other side just gave a whole argument for Barry Sanders.
Hold on, homie.
But Barry Sanders played in Detroit, homie.
Running back.
Don't carry weight.
Running back and QB is not the same. And
is it not the same organization,
Jason,
homie?
It's not the same position, Jason. Don't do that, Jason.
Is it not the same organization?
Of course it is, but running back and QB is not the same, homie. Running back does not have the same influence over a team as a quarterback, Jason. You know that.
Green Bay had top 10 defense every year. Top wideout core.
No, he
top
didn't.
running back.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't have top running back. You ain't about to say shit just to say shit. And I had no top wideout core every single year. No, they did it. And a lot of his later years, he was begging for a receiver, and they would not draft a receiver.
Can you name me the other wideout next
they
to
would draft a quarterback in the first fucking round of the year.
Can you name me the other wideouts on Detroit's team other than Megatron?
Golden Tate.
Go.
Golden Tate.
Golden Tate was in Seattle, homie. Try again. Go.
Golden Tate's on Lions.
You just making up names. Give me the names for Matthew Stafford's
wideouts. Or not? It was
why are you looking it up, homie?
I'm trying to make sure I'm not lying.
That wasn't the question. I didn't say Google it. I said name me the other wideouts. Name me the other wideouts that Matthew Stafford had, homie.
I just named one. The only one that comes to my mind. It's him. That's all I'm saying. I'm admitting that. But you have Calvin Johnson. His nickname is Megatron.
Yeah, no shit.
His nickname is Megatron. Motherfucker, Megatron.
He's not human. When Smitty can't answer the question, he goes back to the guy that we're saying.
But I answered the question. I said Golden Tate, and then you immediately said he didn't play for them. He played for Seattle. Then I Googled it, and I showed that he did play for the Lions, and you still didn't say
I didn't say he didn't play there. I said he wasn't the main guy.
Why did you even say that then?
Because you mentioned a guy later in his career.
I asked you a question, homie. I don't know what's supposed to say. Marvin Jones? I don't know. What the hell?
Marvin Jones, my former guy.
Okay.
Is
he not good? Is he good?
He's good. Are you going to put him on the same level as big-time wideout tandems? I've never heard Marvin Jones. I've never heard Marvin Jones and Megatron a top two tandem.
After that, Greg Jennings and all them, after that era went on, name somebody else for Aaron Rodgers. Devontae Adams was not that guy at first. Let's keep it all the way went down. Devontae Adams was no. Look it up. His first couple years, he was not some fucking. We didn't know Devontae Adams was going to be Devontae Adams. Aaron played a big role in that. We want to keep it all the way 1,000. It wasn't like, we got Devontae Adams from the draft. We got number one for sure. No, look at his numbers. Look at it. It's a fact. No Google. Look it up. So all I'm saying is naming the receiver outside of him. We can do the same thing. My point is this. You're saying that Aaron Rodgers was in a position to make it to the championship and he couldn't get over the hump. But you're forgetting the point. Why was he in a position to be in the championship? Why was he in the NFC championship game every year? A large part of that, not all of it, a large part of that was because of Aaron. And on the flip side, the Lions, why were they missing the playoffs every fucking year?
Let me ask you something.
A large part of it is on the quarterback, homie. That's a fact.
What's the difference between the AFC East and the NFC North for Tom Brady's era versus Aaron Rodgers' era? Nothing. The NFC North was the worst division in football for Aaron Rodgers' era. No, you know who the Rams division was? Stop, homie. Stop. You guys don't weigh it all out. All you casuals in the chat have no fucking idea.
Why you bring up the Rams? Hold on.
Because the 49ers are in their division, homie, who's went to fucking 3 Super Bowls in the same time that Jared Goff went to the Rams Super Bowl.
Yeah, but bro, that Rams team was fucking. I'm not look. Stafford was amazing that year.
It matters.
That Rams team was
matters.
Loaded.
Opponents matter, homie.
They do. Was that Rams team not loaded?
Which Ram team?
You bring up the Rams. So we're talking about the Rams with Stafford when they won the Super Bowl. Was that team not loaded? That's the question.
I would argue I could put that roster against the Green Bay teams all day long, though. The defense for Green Bay was loaded, homie. What are you talking about?
That team was loaded.
Dog.
I wonder how many Hall of Famers, like when it's all said and done, I wonder how many Hall of Famers that particular Rams team is going to have.
Not a lot. Stop. Not a lot. You act like they fucking were so loaded. Come on,
got two on the D line off the back. You got Andrew Whitworth as the tackle. You got Matthew Stafford. We'll see what happens with Cooper Kupp and how his career ends. I'm just on top of the fucking dome right now.
That Rams team was one of the greatest of all time or some shit.
I'm just saying of this era, that team was fucking. Again, you got a team that always was a Super Bowl, right? And lost to Brady and them by what? So it was 17-9, a touchdown. So they're already good enough to be. And then you take that same team, you add OBJ, add Von Miller, who still had hella juice. You add Jalen Ramsey, who was the best corner in the league at the time, and then you add Stafford. So I'm like, hold on, homie. So like,
what happened to Buffalo the very next year? Named Von Miller.
You said what?
What happened? You keep saying Von Miller. What happened to Von Miller when he goes to Buffalo the very next year?
He got hurt.
Come on, homie. It's not
come on, homie. You asked Von Miller. He got hurt. No,
why do you keep asking Von Miller if he won a Super Bowl? Von Miller
look it up, homie. Von Miller played a huge role in that fucking team. Are you kidding me? He got 2.5 sacks in the Super Bowl.
you're acting like he won the Super Bowl, though. Stop.
Looks
Why
like
do you keep bringing up his name? You keep bringing up Von Miller's name like he won the Super Bowl.
Because he played a huge. Oh man, you too smart.
on,
I'm not letting you get away with that, homie. You know football too much. Don't do that, Jason.
Smitty,
That's not a good look.
I can go down the list in Green Bay and all these fucking DNs that they had too.
With no Von Millers. I can tell you that. It wasn't no fucking Von Millers.
Stop.
Got 2.5 sacks, and then you got the goat, and you got the goat in the interior. You're missing the point. You got Von Miller who got 200 damn sacks, and then you got fucking Aaron Donald.
Why are you acting like Von Miller? Why are you acting like Von Miller is Lawrence fucking Taylor or something on this show?
He's a Hall of Famer.
God damn.
Guaranteed, locked. No question.
That's fine. But
so what are we talking? Well,
why do you keep asking? Why do you keep acting like he's the reason they won the Super Bowl?
I named him. I named OBJ. I named Jalen Ramsey. My point is, you have a team that was already in the biggest game. Then you add even greater pieces to it. So all I'm saying is, Stafford had an amazing year. Without Stafford, they don't win. I like Stafford. I'm not trying to diss Stafford, but don't talk like that Super Bowl was just the all-in. He's better than Aaron now. Like that's it. That's all it took.
Like I would love to compare that Ram team that lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl versus the team that won against the Bengals in the Super Bowl. And if you're going to talk all-time greats, compare the two teams and tell me the huge difference. Like, let's be real. Compare the two differences. Just a few years removed, Jared Goff loses to the Patriots when they couldn't score no fucking points.
Right.
Tell me the huge difference in rosters. And now really get to brass tacks. If you guys know so much football in the chat, really break down that shit right there. Because guess what? You can't. The only difference is in real theory, because OBJ got hurt in the Super Bowl, by the way.
Yeah, but he did score a touchdown at the beginning of the game, which matters in the Super Bowl, which matters.
Yeah. Here's the reason, though. The difference was, guess what? One guy couldn't score on who? Belichick's defense. The other guy won the Super Bowl. It's real simple. So, like, and the guy to ask we'll have on during the season, we can have this point again, but we can bring it in. No, see, that's what D. Jones doesn't understand goalpost movement. It means, no, that I went to a level that you can't comprehend. That's what it means. It's not goalpost movement. It means you just can't fucking talk on my level, and that therefore you think, oh, JB just moves the goalpost. No, you just can't fucking comprehend what I say, homie. So the bottom line is,
and I love E-Dub, by the way, and I know that's what you're mentioning, but let's also mention that there's natural bias there. And I'm not saying my teammate.
I actually think he'll go against me.
We'll see.
Because I'm talking about the team that lost the Super Bowl. I would argue the team that lost the Super Bowl was just as talented, but they didn't have the quarterback. So that's my point.
I mean, it's very close. Yeah, you're right. But that's actually my point. My point is that, all right, take that same team, basically, but then you add a Ramsey, you add a Von Miller, you add an OBJ, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple players. So you add Stafford. So, yeah, you take a team that was already really fucking good, then you add even better pieces to it. Like, you understand? Like, that's all I'm saying. I'm not.
But it comes down to you just had the argument about the quarterback, though. Like, the quarterback's the difference maker, homie. What do you mean? It ain't fucking Von Miller.
Listen, they don't win without Stafford. I'm not disrespecting Stafford. I'm saying that one ring, though, for me, I don't see how that one moment. Yeah. Because basically what you're saying is, you're saying on your list, you had Stafford right here behind Aaron Rodgers the whole time he's with the Lions. Soon as he gets that one ring, you put him over Aaron. Yeah. I don't agree with that. I don't know. It wasn't that close.
Context matters.
It wasn't that close.
Detroit versus Green Bay was that close because you were in a horrible organization your whole life at quarterback. That's the difference. I know how hard it is to play quarterback with a no roster ass team in a losing environment and culture in Detroit.
So why does Jared Goff go to that same Detroit organization that takes to an NFC Championship then?
And do the same thing he did with the Rams?
Ain't no same shit. He was an NFC Championship, a place that Stafford never been.
Hold on. Stop. You're going to compare that roster to Stafford's team?
You said organization. Now it's an organization, is it roster, is it culture? What is it, homie?
So now Jim Everett's Rams are the same team that Weddle won the Super Bowl with?
It was a year, it was 2 years apart, a couple years apart.
No, I said Jim Everett's Rams. Stop.
I'm talking about the line.
So again, you're going to compare all the teams. So Cowboys teams when Aikman is now the same team as Dak Prescott? Come on, I mean that sounds crazy.
That's 30 years, huh? It ain't that long, motherfucker. Don't do that. It wasn't 30 years for Stafford and golf. It wasn't 30 years, homie. It was a couple years.
Stop. Look at what's happened, homie.
He changed it immediately.
The whole team is flipped. Stop. Here's the bottom line, though. If Aaron Rodgers and Stafford swapped, I guarantee you Stafford has more Super Bowls.
And I guarantee the Lions made way more playoff appearances.
No, with the Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But Stafford wins Super Bowls. That's crazy. It don't even make sense.
Just hold on. What we just did is what we did 15 minutes ago when I said if fucking Dan Marino went to the Cowboys with that loaded team, he gets 3. And then you said, well, if Aikman goes with the fucking Dolphins, he gets 5.
Yeah. But there's actually
that's
proof.
Insane for you to say that, by the way, too.
No, they're not. But there's actually proof though. Aikman won 3 Super Bowls though.
Yeah, with a loaded team. Yeah,
that's my point. Aaron Rodgers didn't.
Aaron Rodgers won Super Bowl though.
But Aaron Rodgers didn't win 3 Super Bowls on that team though. That's my point. He lost more. He lost 3 NFC title games.
Mm-hmm. But he got them there though.
Lost.
But he got them there though.
So like, there's no comparison in your thing.
But he got them there though.
Anybody go? That's my point. Anybody would have got him there.
Anybody. They're not.
I take Stafford all day and put him on that same team. I'm just saying, put him on that same team. I take him all day. Hell no.